This is big breaking emergency news. A level 1 emergency has been declared, and 14 different states are now being affected. They are being warned that in the next 24 hours, they could see major problems. All right, we're seeing states mostly in the Midwest, in the middle of the country, states like Arkansas, Iowa, Kansas, Louisiana, Minnesota, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, New Mexico, North Dakota, Oklahoma, South Dakota, Texas, and Wyoming. 14 different states were just warned, and a level 1 emergency has been declared. All right, so let's get into the details here really quick, guys. Please just hit it up for me down there. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. It just helps to get these warnings out so people know. I appreciate that. Let's get into this. All right, right now a level 1 emergency has been declared in these states, in this region, and they're saying that this is a energy emergency alert. Right, this is what's been sent out. Energy providers are warning that this part of the country could have energy shortages and potentially even blackouts coming up in the next 24 hours. All right, that's what they're warning of right now. And we're actually seeing blackouts and energy grids being destroyed as well overseas too. All right, there was just a major attack on Ukraine from Russia. Right, Russia has responded to the incursions that have been happening the past 2 or 3 weeks, and dozens of power stations inside of Ukraine have been destroyed, and there are nationwide blackouts happening in Ukraine. Right, we're also seeing drones from this situation as well going into Poland. Right, they're trying to decide if this is a Russian drone or a Ukrainian drone going into Poland, and they're looking for it right now. They're saying it's a Russian drone. All right, we'll get into more details of that. And we're also seeing major breaches from the Chinese military into foreign airspace, all right, into NATO allies' airspace. China is now pushing the boundaries, all right, and going and testing the waters. So we're going to cover all this stuff. There's a lot of things going on. All right, our power grid is getting this emergency level 1 alert, and also overseas power grids are being destroyed too. Okay, so this is why you guys just should be prepared. At least have your tanks filled up. All right, your car tanks, your gas tanks, your red gas tanks as well, if you have a generator, so you can keep that running. All right, your water tanks, just have these things filled up, and your prepper pantry stocked up in case there's any problems. All right, because these 14 states are being warned there could be an issue in the next 24 hours. They're warning that this warning could go on till tomorrow night. So let's get into details here. It says the Southwest Power Pool issued an emergency energy alert for a level 1 energy emergency, indicating that the current grid conditions could lead to an energy deficiency. The alert is expected to last until Tuesday, August 27th at 8 p.m. All right, so this video is being recorded Monday night, and this emergency alert is going into Tuesday night. All right, so if you're in these states, you need to just be ready. All right, it doesn't mean it's going to be the end all be all, but certain states are going to be more affected than others, like Kansas especially. They're worried about that the grid could have major problems there. Right, it says the SPP and Sunflower will continue to monitor the situation. It says, but consumers should be cognizant the extreme hot temperatures and other weather events can create further strain on the electric grid, causing SPP to call for energy conservation across its 14-state footprint. In addition, SPP has said the grid had less power resources available due to plant outages and low output from variable energy sources like wind and solar. All right, so they're saying that they have lower power resources right now due to power plant outages. And they're also saying that the output from wind and solar is down. So we could see potential blackouts, like rolling blackouts, happen for hours at a time, shutting off certain parts of the grid so the grid is not damaged, right, and overloaded. And at the same time, people are going to be sitting in this heat, sweltering, trying to crank up their AC, right? So have some type of alternative generation, power generation, if you can. Even if it's just your car, you can go in your car and blast the AC if they shut the power off, right? And just really quick, here are the 14 states again for you guys: Arkansas, Iowa, Kansas, Louisiana, Minnesota, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, New Mexico, North Dakota, Oklahoma, South Dakota, Texas, and Wyoming are all being warned right now. And I was reading that Kansas is on the highest alert right now, and Missouri as well. They're on high alert because temperatures are going to be in the danger zone there, right? And they're worried about power generation. It says this level 1 energy emergency alert. It says when it's declared, or it is declared when conditions exist that could lead to energy deficiencies. All available power generation resources are committed to meet the demand for electricity, and SPP is at risk of not meeting required operating reserves. And they actually put out this little memo here of 10 things that you can do to conserve energy. This is what the power grid provider is warning of in these 14 states. They're saying these are the 10 things you can do. Number 1, raise your thermostat. This is what they're warning people to do so we do not overload the power grid. All right, it's voluntary right now, it's not mandatory, but these are the recommendations. It says use fans, raise the thermostat, turn off lights, unplug appliances, shut off computers, cover windows and doors, limit appliance use, use a laptop computer, protect your cool air, and use exhaust fans. All right, those are the 10 things that they're telling people to do. And it's voluntary right now, but it could become mandatory if they go to level 2 or 3, where they start having rolling blackout situations. All right, so I will keep you guys updated on that situation. That alert is in effect until Tuesday at 8 p.m. All right, and it could be extended as well. And we're also seeing major emergencies overseas on their power grids too. Right, in Ukraine, they just had a major strike to their power grid. All right, the White House has responded and put out a statement. I will get to that in just a second, but just to give you guys the details of what happened here. All right, they're saying that during this strike on Ukraine, there was potentially a Russian drone that entered Polish airspace. It says Poland said that a drone had likely entered its airspace early on Monday morning due to a Russian bombardment of Ukraine, adding that the object may have landed on Polish territory and that searches were underway. All right, so the grid's being destroyed there. It's at risk here right now too. It says Russia launched more than 100 missiles and around 100 attack drones at Ukraine during Monday morning's rush hour, and there were at least 5 casualties. And they were striking energy facilities nationwide. All right, they're reporting over 24 facilities have been hit. All right, so nationwide blackouts are happening in Ukraine, and it's going to take a little bit. And the U.S. is saying that they are committed to rebuilding the power grid and resources and everything. I'll get to that in just a second. It says here, most likely this is a quote, most likely it was a drone, and we assume so because the trajectory of the flight and the speed indicate that it was definitely not a missile. All right, that is what the spokesperson for the Polish Army Operation Commands told Reuters. It says, quote, the object is being searched for by 100 soldiers on the ground and 1 helicopter. All right, so they have 100 soldiers on the ground looking for this drone. They haven't found it yet. What the latest update that I could find. All right, so they're looking for it. And here's another key thing that they said too, because they haven't found it yet, so they haven't 100% determined it. He also said, quote, it was impossible, sorry about that, quote, it was impossible to say whether the object was Russian or Ukrainian, as weather conditions had not allowed for visual identification, right? That's also what's being reported by Reuters. So they're saying that they're not sure exactly whose drone it was, but most likely it was Russia because they were doing the strike and it happened at the same time, right? And they allowed this to get in, they're saying, because of weather conditions as well too. They're saying they didn't even see the drone until it was already in Polish airspace. It says the Polish Air Force also sent fighter jets to assess the situation. Quote, all necessary procedures to ensure the safety of Polish airspace have been launched, and the operational command of the Polish Armed Forces is constantly monitoring the situation, the statement added. So they are also warning that their military and air force are in high alert right now in case anything else happens, right? And we actually just got this warning as well in Germany, okay, at one of their major nuclear power plants, one of their biggest ones. They issued a warning that they've seen drone incursions over their nuclear power plant as well in Germany, and it was speculated, they were saying that these were coming from Russia as well too, right? That's what they are reporting. So what's going on here? We could see some type of attack inside of NATO territory, and that could potentially trigger Article 5 and bring the US and NATO further into this conflict, right? We could see attacks like this happen, right? Especially if it's on a nuclear power plant. And Russia also just had a drone attack on the Kursk nuclear power plant as well that they were able to stop, right? This was reported just last week too. So this is becoming more common, right? And more dangerous, these drones, right? That's the future of this warfare here, is drone warfare. And that's the most important thing right now. Whoever has the most advanced drone capabilities, that is who is winning right now, right? That's why the tides are turning, because this has turned into a drone war essentially, right? But Russia is now striking back. And this is a statement from the White House. It says, earlier today, Russia launched waves of missiles and drones against Ukrainian cities and energy infrastructure. Ukrainian officials report that this outrageous attack resulted in the casualties of Ukrainian civilians and targeted more than 24 critical energy sites. I condemn, in the strongest possible terms, Russia's continued war against Ukraine and its efforts to plunge the Ukrainian people into darkness. Right? And he also went on to say that the U.S. is committed to a coalition of more than 50 countries, including NATO allies, and they have reprioritized U.S. air defense exports, so they are being sent to Ukraine first, right? And Biden also announced that he is providing Ukraine with equipment for 5 additional strategic air defense systems, right? So that's what's going on. The U.S. is sending more defense systems, air defense systems, to Ukraine to defend against any more drone or missile attacks, right? And it also goes on to say the United States is surging energy equipment to Ukraine as well to repair its systems and strengthen the resilience of the Ukrainian energy grid, right? That's the statement from the White House and signed by Biden, coming out officially on this event, on this strike. So they're saying that they have reprioritized U.S. air defense exports to send more to Ukraine, and they're sending at least 5 additional defense systems, and also more energy equipment to repair the grid. So that's what's happening here. We need some of that in the United States too, honestly. We need our grid rebuilt. We need our grid updated so it is resilient as well against any of these blackout warnings or even attacks in the future, cyber attacks or even physical attacks as well in the future. Our own grid needs to be resilient against this too. So maybe some of this technology, because this is what they do, they test a lot of this stuff in these active war zones right now. They're testing a lot of the new equipment, right, that they haven't been able to use, and they're building on it, right? So maybe some of this equipment will end up back in the United States for the energy grid here, because they've been under cyber attacks as well. They've been under blackouts. This happens every few months, right, where the power grid is destroyed, and or it's under a cyber attack, shutdown. They have major blackouts every few months. So maybe some of this resilience and technology will make its way back to the US one day, because we need to revamp our energy systems as well. All right, that's a critical vulnerability inside the United States, not even from just physical attacks, but even just the weather, right? Our grid is on a bad situation, all right, on a bad trajectory just to deal with the weather, all right, much less any type of pressure from outside, all right? So there's also been reports of a Chinese military surveillance plane that has breached Japanese airspace off the country's southwestern coast on Monday. All right, so this is the first time this has ever happened. China is really probing everyone's air defense systems. All right, China is seeing what everyone's response time is, seeing what they're going to do, seeing how long it's going to take, what planes are they going to send exactly. And they're tracking it all, testing it all, recording it all. China is right now, right? They are doing dry runs and tests to see what the defenses are so they can be quicker, right? They're like, all right, we have 32 seconds once we enter their airspace to get a response, right? They're timing this stuff, and that's valuable information, right, in a war theater. And that's essentially what this part of the world is becoming very soon, right? All the top generals are warning of this, that Taiwan and China is the next major move that we could see around the world, all right? So it's saying that this is marking what Japan's defense ministry described as the first known incursion by China's military into its territorial airspace. Right, so this is big because China's normally flying around in international airspace and waters constantly, but this is the first time, right? And they're actually trying to claim some of the islands in Japan as well too, okay? There is islands that they're claiming are contested, right? On the Okinawa chain of islands that go out from Japan, okay? There's like a long chain of islands that go out from the bottom of Japan. And China is now starting to claim some of these islands, right? And putting pressure on Japan to take them over, right? And they've already done this in other parts of the world. And they want to do it to Taiwan as well and parts of Japan. It says here, according to a ministry official, a Chinese reconnaissance aircraft briefly entered Japanese territory near Nagasaki Prefecture around 11:30 a.m. on Monday. In response, Japan's self-defense force put fighter jets on high alert and issued a warning to the Chinese aircraft. All right, so they're doing this for a reason. This pilot was given authorization to do this, right? Nobody's just making these decisions abruptly, flying around a pilot, right? They're being authorized and given orders to do this, all right? So they're testing the waters, and we could see a move even on Japan and some of its lower islands, more of its southern islands that are actually pretty close to China. Right? They're not super close, but they're actually relatively close to Taiwan and China, right? They're right there, and China thinks that they're up for grabs. They think it's part of this Taiwan deal, right? That they want to reclaim. Part of Japan is in that island chain that they want to take. So that's what's going on right now. A lot of news around the world. All right, make sure you guys are getting prepared and ready. Please just hit it up for me down there to help get these warnings out so people know and are ready, especially for this power grid going on in these 14 states. I appreciate that, guys. I hope you have big blessings for your life, your family, and I hope you have a big old blessed day.